What's up, guys? Jared Welch, Aaron Haltman back with you, talking Breeders' Cup Classic. That's right. Especially with the Haskell being this weekend and having a another win you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Week 1 rankings are out for the Breeders' Cup Classic. I know it's early, but this is how it starts. We start going through this, and Haltman and I are part of the Breeders' Cup voting panel. We do this every year with the Breeders' Cup. They ask us to vote, and along with everyone, a lot of people in the industry that vote every week for the classic rankings. We did this last year, Haltman, with Flightline. You and I, this time of the year, right? We had him ranked number 1 from jump. As soon as we could rank, he was our number 1 horse. This week, we come at not a big surprise here. Cody's Wish is the number 1 ranked horse, but we'll pull up the overall rankings. We'll pull up our individual rankings as well. But first, is there any surprises that came up out of this one?
No, I don't know where you really were to be surprised with this one. It's kind of early to really get going on this thing and really kind of start to really think about this with so much left to unfold. I thought Forte at number 3 was a little surprising, but I had him at 5. And really, when you get past number 2, how do you really rank these horses right now? It's kind of a, kind of a mishmash. And it's funny, a horse like Charge It that was kind of left for dead after the Met Mile is now debuting at number 8 on this list. But who else are you really going to rank at this point?
Yeah, so I'll just run through the overall rankings here, from the consensus, and how it's done. It's everybody ranks their own top 10, and then it's like a system, 10, 9, 8, it goes down that order, and based on how you voted, and here comes the panel. I can say this: 22 first place votes for Cody's Wish. 287 total votes, so not exactly close, but closer than you maybe would have thought to West Willpower there. That's number 2. Forte, like you mentioned, leads the 3-year-old department at number 3 with 194 votes. Defunded, by the way, Forte got 2 first place votes, which I thought was very interesting. 3 first place votes for Defunded, who's number 4. Number 5, Archangelo, your Belmont winner. Mage at 6. Rattle and Roll, who got a first place vote as well. I'd like to see who did that. 122. Charge It at 100 votes. Art Collector, and then rounding out the field there was Stiletto Boy at 10. You and I, the way we did this, we were pretty close. Really, our top 4 are exactly the same: Cody's Wish, West Willpower, Rattle and Roll, and Defunded. Past that, it gets a little, we get a little different. And then 9 and 10, we both have Stiletto Boy and Tap It Trice. So kind of in the middle, and that's what it feels. It's like the top half, you kind of feel like, at least right now, that's the way it should be. But that middle section, really all the rest of it is wide open. Obviously we're going to see Tap It Trice, an Arabian Night, Extra Anejo, Go Rocket Ride. We're going to see all those horses in the Haskell this weekend, which could completely change because, you kind of just say right now, you're like, well, I think Mage, and I think Archangelo or whatever, but we're still kind of figuring out which one of these 3-year-olds and which of the group of these 3-year-olds actually belong in this classic conversation.
Oh, the Haskell is so important this year for the classic. And so, like last year, the Haskell was completely irrelevant, and that's no knock on anybody that ran in the Haskell or the Haskell race itself. I love it, and I like the horses that ran it last year. But Flightline was in the group. Forget it. Every race that was a Breeders' Cup Challenge race was irrelevant except for the ones that he was in. You weren't going to beat him. This year is way different. You have the same situation, like you said, where Cody's Wish is a horse that he really hasn't gone past a mile, in a big stakes race. We don't know what he's going to do, but there is a little more question mark that he's going to stretch out and be just as good, where there was no question mark, at least to us that are on the screen right here, that horse was going to get better stretching out, talking about Flightline. So the Haskell's huge. If Arabian Night runs a huge race, he might be number 1 on this list next week. That's how wide open things are. He's not on the list, and I don't think anybody got any votes even. He might be number 1. Mage, if Mage runs the Kentucky Derby type of Mage effort, he probably will be number 1 on the list next week, right? So the Haskell and races like it are so vital this year, unless Cody's Wish goes to the Whitney like we all think he's going to, and then he dominates that race. And then all of a sudden, maybe we're running for second again. But at this very moment, these races are massive for what's going to happen.
Yeah, and what's interesting is with Cody's Wish, there's a very real chance we don't even see him in a Mountain Quarter until the race. And so even if he does look very good at a mile and eighth, we don't know what he'll do in the mile and a quarter. Now granted, if he runs really well at a mile and eighth and he looks dominant, it'll be hard to say like he wouldn't run well. But even his style of running is not necessarily like a flat line where you're like, well, he's just faster than the rest. Like they're never gonna get to him. Where he has to kind of, say Arabian Night blazes in the Haskell, and just it's like you're gonna have to run well to run down some of these horses in the Classic. So Cody's Wish, I'm with you. It's like he definitely doesn't feel like Flightline in any sense. I guess the one way he does is like he definitely to me is a clear number one right now, but it's not even close to what it felt like last year with Flightline. This year it feels like he is the number one horse. He deserves to be the number one horse because they're trying the Classic route, but it kind of feels like he's hanging on a thread there. Like you could easily see him not be in the rankings come September.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to last year, anytime we did any videos on the Classic, it's like, well, if Flightline's in the race, then they might as well not show up. And if he's not in the race, it's going to be a great Classic for betting purposes because it's wide open. Yeah, this year it doesn't feel like it's that reverse jam, slam dunk, no doubt, Cody's Wish. But he still kind of feels like he's way better than everybody else as long as he stretches out okay.
Oh, yeah.
But listen, he's not a generational superstar, so to speak, like Flightline. And he's very, very good. I mean, he clearly has no competition at a mile. None. They're not even close. And like I said, if it's that kind of gap to a mile and an eighth, then we basically just wait and see, is there a 3-year-old that can rise up to his level? Because if he goes out and dominates the Whitney, we kind of have a pretty good idea that the older horses probably aren't going to be able to beat him.
Well, you mentioned the 3-year-olds, and within our list combined, we've got, Forte, Arcangelo, Mage, Tappet Trice, Arabian Night, all on our list. I think you and I would probably agree. And it's funny, most of those horses are running this weekend, and then Forte is going to be running the Jim Dandy. It's like we're going to find out a lot in the next couple of weeks, but I think you would probably agree out of those group of horses, Arabian Night feels like the horse that could be the one that could win the class. I mean, and that's a very broad statement, but he's still unknown. He's more, where he's coming back off the long layoff. He's with Bob Baffert. We know what he can do with these 3-year-olds. We know what he does in the Haskell. Arabian Night feels like the horse that could jump up and be one on this list here in a short time.
Well, we've said it 100 times on our shows throughout this Triple Crown season. The Triple Crown was fun. It was great, but boy, there's a lot of horses sitting on the sidelines right now that you'd love to bet against these horses that are running in races like the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont. And Arabian Night was on the top of everybody's list. And so, yeah, he certainly seems like one. I'd tell you a horse that was on the top of my list that's running this weekend in the Haskell too, and that's Go Rocket Ride. We have no idea the potential. Well, we know he's got potential, but we have no idea how high of potential he could kind of reach and just how big of a star he could be. If he was to go out and romp, I would think very highly of him this weekend as well. And there's others, like I said, you mentioned Extra Anejo. He came back and was disappointing in his first race. He was much, much better in his second race. So he's squarely in this is a big proving ground for him. And that's just it. Arabian Lion's not in this race coming up this weekend, but he's still one that's kind of, I don't know if he's on the Haskell list, but he is that 3-year-old that we think could have a big second half. So the new shooters are starting to show up. They're starting to come around. Now they got to kind of prove, not just us, but a lot of the handicappers right that, yeah, these big 3-year-olds are just getting ready to show up.
Go Rocket Ride drew the rail of the Haskell, so you got to think with his speed, we're going to see him go very forwardly placed, and not especially at being keen off the layoff. So it'll be interesting, like you said, so many factors here. Arabian Night's a horse you would think would be closer to the pace. It's Mage kind of rerouting, deciding to run in the race. Make sure you go watch the Haskell preview as well on our YouTube channel to get full insight of that. But this is week 1 rankings of the Classic. Obviously, a ton to find out after this weekend with the big 3-year-old racing with the Haskell. With the win in your end, we're going to find out a ton about these horses and who's going to be pointing to the Classic. So stay tuned. Next week, we'll be back for our week 2 rankings and see how much change and see if Cody's Wish gets knocked out of that one spot. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you like all our videos. Tons of Saratoga. Del Mar coming up this weekend. Monmouth, with the Haskell. Tons of content coming your way. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. We'll see you guys next time.
RacingNews.com is your home for the best free picks for every race, every track. Summer's here. Our picks are heating up. We want you to join us in the fun. Subscribe to the Racing Dudes YouTube channel right now. Click the notification bell. You don't want to miss a single one of our awesome videos. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.